Mm. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today, we're going into an area that I have not focused on at all before, and that is on education and online education and digital education and other kinds of things that you can do while you're sort of trapped indoors, more or less, like the rest of the country and the rest of the world. So, as with everything else, as with restaurants and a whole bunch of other services, education or parts of it at least have gone online, and people have devised a whole bunch of courses and education systems that you can kind of utilize either with the computer or your iPads. And Gagan's joined. I'm just going to add him on. And one of the areas, and hey Abbas, all good. Good to hear from you. Dogs are doing well. Hope you've been well too. So yeah, as I was saying, wine and spirits education, something that is quite a challenge to pull off in the purely digital space, but we have IWBS, which has put up something, and there we have Gagan looking very pensive.
Hey Antoine,
Hey Gagan. Okay, wait.
how are you?
Wait. How are you doing?
All good?
Okay, I don't know
Till
if
the
I can
time the
hear you.
dog is rested, everything life is good.
So let's try that again.
Yeah, is it better now?
No, I don't think I can hear you, Gagan. Can you hear
Can you
me?
hear me now? I've just gone on this thing, earphones.
Let me see. Does this work?
I can hear you perfectly
Yeah.
well.
Okay. Sorry, that was my the jack hadn't gone in properly. Great.
Right, right.
So
Yeah.
we've got Gagan Sharma from IWBS, and they've launched a whole bunch of courses online. Gagan is a sommelier, a trained master sommelier. He's done his WSET courses as well, and he's been in the education space for a while. And he's also been a judge on several wine panels and spirit panels too. Is it, or just wine?
No, mostly wine panels. Yeah,
Mostly wine. Okay.
yeah.
So IWBS has kind of not been sitting on their haunches through the lockdown, and you guys have been doing a whole bunch of stuff. And I think earlier this year, maybe around June, you launched the wine course. Is that right? So
That's right. Yeah, that's
tell
right.
us about all the things that you've been doing since you've been trapped at home.
Well, so actually, we were doing the WSET courses for 10 years, almost 10 years. We were amongst the first ones to bring them to the country. And
Right.
then we later realized that, rather than doing international courses, why don't we do Indian-oriented courses? Who's going to tell the story of Indian wines if in case we Indians don't? So we moved to our own courses in March. And the plan was to at some point in time move on to an online platform because with these live classroom style sessions, you end up
Right.
being stuck in the major cities of Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, Pune, Calcutta, maybe. So who's going to go into Rajasthan? Who's going to go into the Seven Sisters? So the plan was to go into an online format at some point in time, but COVID just forced that restructuring onto us. And yeah, in
Okay.
June, so April, we wanted to bring it out. May, we were just sitting and seeing how the COVID, how it transpires. Is it going to stay for a very long time, or is it something that we will come out of very soon? And we just
Yeah, you and
realized
the
in
rest
due
of
time
us,
that it's going to.
absolutely.
Yeah, we just realized that might as well do something about it now. And yeah, so we came up with the course in the month of May. We
Right.
recorded them and we put them. We created the backend and we launched them on the 1st of June,
Yeah.
which turned out to be a very good endeavor. because there was a good feedback. There was some criticism, which was, of course, to happen because we knew if it's a very experiential beverage, isn't it? No matter
Right, right.
where in the world you are, till the time you're not holding a glass in your hand, you'll be like, what's the whole idea of learning the theory of swimming and not going to a swimming pool? But
Exactly,
I think
exactly.
the situation just demanded something like that, and we had to come up with that. And after that, I think we got really pumped and we said, why should the wine guys have all the fun? Who's going to
Yeah.
talk about the spirits bit? So we came up with the spirits program, and as you also mentioned a couple of days ago, that people look at wines as a single entity, single beverage. But
Yeah.
spirits, vodka is a single entity, whiskey is a single entity. So what we decided was that whatever knowledge we have collectively as a team, let's pour everything into it and let people decide how much do they want to educate themselves. So actually
Fair
the
enough.
spirits program ended up being 3 times as extensive and as exhausting as the wine program was supposed to be.
I can imagine. I can
So
imagine.
yeah, but we are really happy with it. If somebody wanted to learn the theory of the liquid, which
Yeah.
right now, until and unless you don't hold somebody's hand and pour the liquid in their hand and show them how to smell, taste, and everything, till the time we can't do that in a physical world, I think that's the best option that we guys could have come up with, and quite pleased with it.
Okay. And there's some other
Yeah.
activities that you've also been involved in since the long term, isn't that right?
Yeah, so there are some people on this chat as well, and otherwise as well, common people that you and I know from the industry. We did 12 years of Indian Sommelier Championship, which changed the definition of sommelier in the country. And we
Right.
said we wanted to do something similar for students who are under the age of 21.
Yeah.
And that's why this year we launched a program called the Young Sommeliers Olympiad,
Oh,
which was all virtual. We wanted to do only 100 students this year. We didn't want to get too excited about it. Ended up getting nearly 300 participants from 70 different institutes. And so we did 4 days of master classes, virtual master classes, where the owners of the winery, so for example, from Mr. Shailendra Pai from Valone came, Anand from Hapusha and Stranger came, Dimi and Jeet and Chanel from Stranger came, Priyanka from Fruzante, owner of tonic water brands, and all of these people, they came in, they taught the students.
oh,
We had
nice.
a session on tea as well from TWG, and Magan and I, we did a quirky session of rapid fire. We asked each other quirky questions just to tell them that we are not just boring professionals. And then these 290 people, they went through 12 series of quizzes, came down
Okay.
to 37 finalists. They went through another round of quizzes, and then came the winners who got cash awards, scholarships. Once lockdown opens up, they will be traveling to various wineries, breweries, distilleries, and they will get a chance to compete at the Indian Sommelier Championship next year. And
Okay.
the winners of the last 7 Indian Sommelier Championship, they will be training them for 1 year. So
Okay.
when they go into the competition, the winners would have already prepared them for the bigger battle. So that's
Nice.
another
Nice.
one. But a lot of people complain that, listen, we don't have the time to do the entire course and everything. Why don't we go chapter by chapter? So now, next week onwards, we guys are doing webinars where if you like the topic and you have 30 minutes, come join us. We'll teach you about it so that you can ask questions as well. And that's
Okay.
what the idea is. So yeah.
So from what I understand, I mean, you've split the education into two verticals, so to speak. One is for the industry and one is for consumers. Is that
Yeah, that's
broadly
right. Yeah.
correct? Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
the Olympiad, the webinars will be for both sides, or how is that? And the other
Both the
activities.
sides, yeah. Both the sides,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah. Both the sides, and even the course that we created, we wanted to create a very simple language with some, I mean, we think they are funny anecdotes. Sense of humor is very subjective. But we put in these anecdotes so that the topic doesn't become boring. Because that's the biggest problem that, once you get into it, sometimes it gets a little intimidating because of so many different languages that you have to speak.
Yeah.
Italian, French, Spanish, German, all of that, rules and regulations, there's science involved, there's chemistry involved in everything. So everything that we do, we try and make it that the professionals should learn the language of the consumer, and the consumer should be able to bridge that gap and learn a little bit of a language of the professional as well.
Yeah.
So,
So actually, I've been
yeah,
lucky enough to audit both the wine and
yeah,
a
yeah,
part of this spirits course. I haven't actually gone too much in depth with it, but I really liked the wine course. I mean, I thought, for someone who's not into wine at all, who doesn't
yeah,
know the basics, it you kind of brought them into it really interestingly. You kind of went through
yeah.
all the steps quite nicely,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought it was a good bridge, a good way to start off your
Yeah, yeah.
education on wine.
Yeah, yeah. And we've received good feedback. We've received a lot of criticism as well. It wasn't really a criticism, but we got this feedback that, listen, if you were learning a French course, there would be a chapter on the history of French wines and the appellation system. Same with Italian wines. But nobody has ever, spoken about the history of winemaking in India. So we created a 1 hour chapter starting from the Vedas to Samudra Manthan, to what Sita and Draupadi were drinking, to what did Babur and Humayun and Jahangir did to wines in India, to the British Raj, to now. And I think, let alone the Chardonnays and the Rieslings and the Cabernets and the food and wine pairing, people have appreciated that one the most.
Oh,
And
really?
most of the people have come back and they've said, we didn't know this was the story of Indian wines, and this is how, how old alcohol has been in the country. So
Yeah.
we did a similar thing with the spirits chapter as well.
Mm-hmm.
And we will be putting that as an addition sooner or later. But just to go back and see that alcohol was a very important part of our civilization in India is
Yeah.
seriously interesting, very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, alcohol generally, yes, has been, there's definitely played a role, and I think anywhere in the world where things can be fermented, they have been, and pleasure has been found out of that. So it's not, to me, it's not really a big surprise. Wine, to a certain extent, I mean, the definition of wine historically has also changed in terms of how. But then actually the definition of wine globally, the wines that the Romans drank, for instance, has nothing to do with the wine that we drink today.
That's right.
Either.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
So the other thing, tell us about the spirits course. I mean, the spirits, I just kind of got into a little bit, just entered it. And one of the things that I did like about it, though, is that, okay, wines I do know, I have read up a lot more. I haven't read up as much on spirits, and I found it very educating for me personally.
Right. So I think what has happened is that, and we realized this while we were doing numerous webinars for institutes, hotel management institutes, where we were just trying to change their idea of the definition of sommelier. People always think sommelier is a wine guy. What they don't realize is that they need to know every aspect of every beverage that is there in the industry, and that is what we have tried to do with the Sommelier Championship in the last 7 years. So we realized that most of the people, they had this question: either I want to be a sommelier or I want to be a bartender. And they said, okay, if I have to be a bartender, then I'll do a mixology course. They would never, understand the fact that before you start mixing products, mixing drinks, mixing beverages, you need to know the exact science behind every single individual ingredient. And that's what the idea was when we went into the program. We said, okay, fine. Everybody, at least in India, has some knowledge about a spirit, but it's not enough. You go and tell somebody that, listen, the way you're drinking your whiskey might not be the right way. How about you change it that way? And they will take offense that, no, how can you tell me how to drink a drink? So our idea with the spirits program was just to give as much knowledge as possible and let people decide how much they want to learn about it. And we realized that in spirits, at least, it is much better to understand the beverage when you understand the history of it, which might not always be the case with wines. Where did Cabernet come from? It doesn't really matter how Barossa is making it in Australia. But what is the story between Sweden, Poland, and Russia, and how vodka has changed over the years makes a lot of difference. So, we put that in the spirits program. Initially, it was a little difficult for people to understand that why should I study whiskey as a drink for 4 hours? Why should
Yeah.
I study mezcal for 40 minutes? Why should I study pisco and grappa, which you barely get in India, minus two or three brands, maybe four or five of them. Bombay has a better collection, definitely. Why should I study about it for 40 minutes? So initially, yeah, there was a little bit of a challenge, but we are very happy with the course that it is. Again, when you finish the course, there is no passing exam.
Yeah.
You only get a certificate of completion. So you can skip the chapter and you can still say, yeah, I know my spirits. We did not want to hold back the information that we could possibly provide.
Okay. So typically, how many hours are we looking at for each course? How many hours of education of courses?
So the wine course is somewhere around 6 or 7 hours. There are already supplementary videos that you can watch from our series that we do, the 52 drinks series that we do. Today itself we posted one about Grenache. Same with the Spirit Spit, and there are supplementary videos. We knew that people might ask, you guys are wine guys, you don't have any authority in spirits, so how can you tell us everything about...
Come to that, yeah.
Yeah, so we came up with this idea that why don't we do, how we are doing this chat, why don't we do a chat with a producer of that spirit and let them tell us everything that we should be knowing apart, the industry knowledge apart from just the product knowledge. So we have had a tequila producer who spoke about tequila for an hour. We had Anand from Hapusha and Greater Than who spoke for an hour. Rohan Jelki spoke about Roku Gin for about an hour. He spoke about American whiskey with some influence of Jim Beam for about an hour. So whatever lack of authority we had, they have filled it up in a way. And to learn those very practical nuances of the industry, which maybe we couldn't have provided from the lack of experience, if at all, these guys have filled it up. Now we are trying to do a chapter on tonic water with Sepoy and everything. So if ever anybody said that, yeah, you two bald people are good with wines, not with spirits, we say, okay, fine. We knew it was always supposed to be the case. So we got other people to come in and, fill in the gap.
Oh, that's a great idea, actually. I mean, to get actually producers to talk about it. But you've managed to kind of still make it a consumer-friendly conversation, not a very technical, right?
Yeah. That's true. Because I'm pretty sure these guys, they go into the hotels and restaurants, they talk technical stuff with the professionals anyway. So we wanted to just, add things which, as a consumer, if the appreciation of liquid goes up, or you can have a very sensible, learned conversation with your mixologist or with your server when you visit a restaurant or hotel, if at all.
Yeah. Actually, that's one of the problems, at least with wines and spirits, is that so much of it is about pleasure, and that people don't want to think too much about it. They want to know a lot, but as you pointed, they don't want to be corrected or they don't want to be told. So there's a need to find that kind of a balance in how you educate the consumer. Particularly, I think students are open and they're willing to listen to whatever you have to say. Consumers are a little bit more resistant. Has that been your?
But we've had quite a mixed bag of people who have signed up for the programs, and it's fun. So what we generally do is we let the course run for about a month. You get a 3-month access to the program. After a month, once there are a substantial number of people on the course, we start doing a weekly, online meetings where you can come online, just have a chit chat. If you have any doubts, you can always ask us, clarify. Students are a little geeky. They end up asking you questions which were not related to the program. But even with consumers, they come online and they ask some nice questions.
Oh, okay. Any that you
remember? For example, there was this one question: why do you lit the candle when you decant a bottle of wine?
Okay.
Yeah, something as little as this, which I think you don't see in hotels anymore. I mean, I don't remember when was the last time I used a candle to decant outside of the sommelier championship, or I saw people, following that practice in a hotel. But it's nice that at least, people ask about these questions so that the consumer should know, and the professional should also know that, listen, my consumer knows about it. So I can't just write it off from my memory completely.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah, but of course, I mean, and it's something that you brought up earlier, and of course is really key to thing is how do you do a course, either of these courses, without actually experiencing it? You know, I mean,
Yeah.
have you all been able to in any way overcome that, or I mean, is it just more theoretical right now?
We did try that. As I said, the weekly sessions that we used to do, they were a part of the program, so you didn't have to pay and come online. We would decide that this is the brand of this wine, this grape variety that we will be tasting next week. And the people on the group, they decided. We don't tell them that this is what we are tasting. They decide that why don't we taste a Chardonnay? I said, cool. And just to make sure that everybody is on the same level, we decide the brand of the wine. Traditionally, an Indian wine which is readily available in various cities from where the people are joining in. We get online, we tell them that make sure that the wine is in the fridge at this temperature for this much amount of time before you come online. So we try to standardize it, and I think that's the best that we can do in the condition. But yeah, later on, even if people were doing online courses, we would still want them to meet somewhere in the city, come together, taste wines together. At least in Delhi now, the restaurants and bars have started opening up. I don't know what's happening in Bombay.
No such luck.
But the news came that they are coming with the SOP next week, isn't it? For the hotels and restaurants, just
For
today, in
hotels.
Business Standard or something?
Yeah,
Okay.
for hotels to open up, I think that is what we're looking. I don't see whether restaurants are going to open, and unfortunately, I don't think it is a good idea for restaurants to open as yet in Bombay. With the numbers.
But you have home delivery of alcohol, so that works for you.
Oh, you all don't have it in Delhi?
Nope.
Ah, okay. Well,
we are the capital of the country. So we have more politics than anywhere else in the city. Okay. In the country, sorry. Yeah.
In the country, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, any plans in the future? Any things that you all are planning to add on to your bouquet of services, of courses?
So we are planning on doing a few things. So October we guys are trying to start a tasting series now because hotels and restaurants in Delhi have opened up. So we're doing that, which might eventually culminate into a tasting group of consumers, which might add to it more F&B oriented activities, be it dinners and all that. So hotels need these activities. People are willing to come out as well now. So that is happening. Then. In a few months, I mean, we are already in talks with various brands, be it wineries, breweries, meaderies, and distilleries, to create a few exercises that could be done across the board. Be it whichever city it is possible, wherever they are available. So tastings and experiences that way, because alcohol in India is really restricted, and brands already have limited scope of things that they can do. No brand would ever go out and say, let me get all the gin producers under the same roof, or let me get all the whiskey producers under the same roof. A third party will have to do it, and that's what we are trying to do. I'm not at the privy of revealing everything right now, because things are still in the building phase, but yeah, for sure, very, very soon things will be rolled out. Hopefully mid of October.
Okay. That sounds good. But the people who have been attending have been across the country, or do you find they're largely from the big metros?
Initially, they were from the big metros. But now, slowly and steadily, I think we have done a few webinars we've done webinars with pretty much every hotel management institute that we knew of. I think around 120 or 150 items we have already done online webinars with. And now we guys have been able to go into Shillong and Manipur to Trivandrum, Kovalam and all of those places. So pretty pleased with it. So yeah, a lot of people have started adding up. And I think we get more questions from places, B tiers and tier cities. We get more questions from them than from Bombay or Delhi or other places.
Okay. But I get tastings might be a bit of a problem in the tier 2 and the tier 3 cities actually. Getting access
and
to
that's
alcohol.
The reason why that's why we try and stick to Indian wines. We always ask these people, what do you have available? because chances are what they have available, we already have that available in Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore. So they tell us this is what it is, and we just agree to a common wine. Yeah.
Okay. So one of the things that has turned out to be quite interesting in this whole digital and online transformation is that even mainstream colleges and education institutes have found that this format provides for a different kind of experience for students. And even when things go back to normal, some of them are thinking of conducting some classes or some part of courses in the digital format. Is that something that you think you would also want to do when things get back to normal?
Anton, we've already started doing that. We've already tied up with institute in Raipur, institute in Ranchi, institutes in Ajmer, where we never thought we will be able to go. And, I think online tastings and online webinars and stuff like this makes all the sense, because any which way these students under the age of 21 or 25, depending on the state limits, they can't taste alcohol at the college premise. So I think for them, this is the best opportunity. But I think if we were to, understand that virtual tastings can happen, you pick up the same liquid and I pick up the same liquid and we can taste online. The liquid remains the same. I'm pretty sure a lot of new opportunities can come in.
Yeah. I think that might make sense for, especially in the consumer market, where people are still a little bit more keen and they want to have that sense of interaction with the instructor and other people in the class as well.
Right.
That seems to be something that might work over there.
So, one of the big houses in Bordeaux, Chateau Smith Lafitte or Chateau Haute Smith Lafitte, with either of the two, they did a virtual tasting just last week with their wines, and they had these 5 or 6 wines lined up, and they did it was a very close group thing. And if people in Bordeaux in France, if they can turn up their their history completely, their rituals completely, and they can adapt to a system like this, for a country like India, I think it's much easier, because we don't really have a habit that we need to break to get into another habit.
Yeah, absolutely. This actually offers a lot more potential, in a sense, to reach out to newer audiences, maybe even people who, I don't know, people who don't want to go out or be seen drinking outside, perhaps, that's another category of people who wouldn't mind learning about it, but don't want to be. I don't know if that exists, but I'm sure.
Yesterday, one of the very famous Indian bartenders in Hong Kong, in a 3 Michelin star restaurant, he did a virtual guest shift in Singapore.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was hugely successful. He was mixing the drinks here, and the bar guys there, they were doing it. The consumers were mixing their own Negronis and stuff, and there was a virtual cheers and celebration, and they were sipping on cocktails together.
Wow, so the digital space really has opened up, potential for all kinds of new experiences, really, and within education as well. So that's really interesting. Gagan, thank you so much for joining in and for telling us about it. I'm sure that a lot of people weren't really aware of all the work that you guys are doing, and the opportunity to kind of engage with you all both institutionally and at the consumer level. And it's been really some great fun videos. The courses are quite engaging and they're quite enjoyable. So I really like them. And thank you everybody for listening in and for joining in. We'll be back next week, next Monday at 6 p.m. with another guest and with something equally exciting. So in the meantime, thank you so much, Gagan. I hope to see you in real time sometime soon with some great wines, hopefully. And for all of you, see you. Have a great weekend. Stay safe and stay well. Take care, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.